applegrass aphid on the leaf of an apple tree. The tiny millimeter-long insect hides in the tiniest crevices and robs the tree of valuable nutrients. The young sprouts from which an apple will later ripen wither away. The result, harvest losses. The pest is feared because it spreads like wildfire. In just 1 month, the applegrass aphid can produce up to 10,000 offspring. Ladybugs are their natural enemies and can consume up to 200 aphids in a day, but they cannot halt the invasion single-handedly. Bruno Guban is head of the Belgian Research Center for Useful Plants in Gorsum and is one of the world's leading experts in the field of pest control.
Sucking insects such as aphids attack the tree on many fronts. They suck its sap and therefore weakening the tree, and also they can transmit viruses by sucking, so they can also weaken the tree in the long term. By sucking on the leaves, they will produce honeydew, and on this honeydew a secondary pest, the sooty mold, can grow, and this will make the apples unusable.
Turnevorst am Niederrhein, a Bayer crop science field trial site covering just under a hectare. For 27 years, the crop protection specialists here have been studying suitable active ingredients for protecting crop plants. One of the things they have been looking for is a suitable agent to protect trees against these aggressive aphids. Michael Kluken is responsible for the field trials in which he is comparing treated with untreated trees. For a long time, it was impossible to control pests such as the applegrass aphid successfully. It all started in the 1950s when attempts were made to get rid of the pests by spraying them with the existing crop protection agents. But this method was problematic. It was not possible to penetrate all parts of the plant with these agents and thus protect it completely. Applying the agents from above resulted in only the tops of the plant being protected against the pests. Crevices, the undersides of the leaves, and young sprouts remain unprotected with this method. The crop protection agent can also be washed away completely with a single downpour, and the plant is then at the mercy of the pests. In the mid-1980s came a revolution in crop protection. New agents penetrate the inside of the plants after spraying and are thus consumed by the insects with the sap. But even this method, systemic insecticides, had only limited effects. This is because one of the plant's two vital systems, the xylem, transports water upwards from the roots. This causes the concentration of the active ingredient in this system to become diluted. The more concentrated active ingredient in the phloem, which is responsible for the distribution of nutrients within the plant, now migrates through the membrane to balance out the active ingredient concentration. As the phloem flows much more slowly than the xylem, however, the active ingredient is washed out while it is still in the upper area. The concentration in both systems is markedly reduced in the lower parts of the plant. The crop is only protected to a limited extent. Although these insecticides were an important step forward, they had to be applied repeatedly in order to ultimately protect the young sprouts and the harvest. This was inconvenient, expensive, and naturally not ideal for the environment. Researchers from Bayer Crop Science in Monheim have now developed a crop protection agent which solves these problems. It acts on the whole plant, mainly from the inside out, and protects the entire plant, including young sprouts. The new active ingredient bypasses the concentration compensation mechanism within the plant. When the active ingredient migrates into the slightly basic phloem, a positively charged particle is cleaved off. The active ingredient molecule is then negatively charged and can no longer migrate back through the membrane. It remains in the phloem and is spread along with nutrients through the entire plant. Thanks to this unique two-way systemicity, both the roots and new sprouts are protected against insects. In one experiment, we were able to show how the active ingredient penetrates inside the plant following just one spraying of a single leaf, after which it is also transported to the other leaf tips which were not sprayed at all. The active ingredient penetrates into every last corner of the plant and protects it against pests. This means that young sprouts and regrowth are protected against harmful aphids as well as roots and stems, and pest-free apples can ripen. The harvest is safe.
Die Ernten sind also sicher.
In field trials, the scientists determined that Bayer's new active ingredient now only needs to be sprayed once or twice a year to protect the plants completely against infestation with pests. When the aphids gradually start to settle on the trees again at the end of the period of protection, their natural predators then provide sufficient protection for the crop. The new active ingredient from Bayer Crop Science was authorized by the authorities in the United States and Canada in 2008. It is scheduled to be used to control numerous sucking pests under the name Movento in more than 70 countries by 2010, safeguarding crops and at the same time preserving beneficial organisms.